The Department of Human Settlement and Urban Development, or DHSUD, is the primary government responsible for the management of housing, human settlement, and urban development. The department is the sole and main planning, policy making, regulatory, program coordination, and performance monitoring entity for all housing, human settlement, and urban development. Concerns primarily focusing on the access to and the affordability of basic human needs. The DHSUD vision: adequate and affordable housing, inclusive human settlements, and well-planned communities for every Filipino family. Mission: to improve the lives of the Filipino people as a primary government agency in the management of housing, human settlement, and urban development. Mandate: be the sole and main planning and policy making, regulatory program, coordination, and performance monitoring entity of all housing, human settlements, and urban development concerns, primarily focusing on the access to and the affordability of basic human needs. The DHSUD exercises oversight functions on its attached agencies or key shelter agencies, namely the National Housing Authority, Home Development Mutual Fund or PAG-IBIG, Social Housing Finance Corporation, and National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation. The National Housing Authority acts as the country's primary shelter for production on. Home Development Mutual Fund or PAG-IBIG Fund focuses on national savings program and affordable shelter financing for Filipino workers. The Social Housing Finance Corporation undertakes social housing programs catering to the formal and informal settlers belonging to the low-income bracket. The National Home Mortgage Finance Corporation ensures the availability of affordable housing loans to finance home buyers through secondary market for home mortgage. It has three bureaus that primarily perform policy development, regulatory functions, and advisory roles. First is the Environmental, Land Use and Urban Planning and Development Bureaus. Second, Housing and Real Estate Development Regulation Bureau. Third, Homeowners Association and Community Development. First is the Environmental, Land Use and Urban Planning and Development Bureau, performs human settlement, planning-related functions including formulating of planning guidelines, national urban development policies and programs, technical assistance to relevant stakeholders, and land use monitoring. Second is the Housing and Real Estate Development Regulation Bureau, regulates the development of subdivisions and condominiums and other real estate projects including the practice of real estate service by broker and salesperson. Third is the Homeowners Association and Community Development Bureau, formulates policies and programs to be implemented by the regional office, monitors proper implementation of the approved policies and programs, and capacitates regional offices in empowering the HOAs within their respective jurisdiction. Now, let us dive into the key functions and responsibilities of the DHSUD. Regulating housing and real estate sectors. First is issuing permits and licenses. Ensures that housing projects comply with building codes, zoning regulations, and environmental standards. Next, enforcing consumers' protection measures. Addresses issues like fraud, misinterpretation, and faulty construction in the housing market. Next is promoting ethical standards. Sets and enforces ethical standards for industry professionals, enhancing transparency and accountability. Next is mechanism for ensuring compliance and quality standards. First, inspections and audits. Conducts regulate inspections and audits to ensure adherence to regulations and identify malpractice. Next is complaint resolution system. Offers a platform for filing and addressing complaints against industry professionals. Next is public awareness campaigns. Educates the public about their rights in the housing market and how to court fraudulent practices. Policy development and implementation. Overview of policies formulated by DHSUD. First is the National Housing Policy. Sets a comprehensive framework for adequate and affordable housing across various income levels. This policy addresses crucial aspects such as housing, finance, production, and delivery. Next is Urban Development Framework. Outlines a vision for sustainable and inclusive urban development. It emphasizes smart planning, resilient in infrastructure, and equitable access to urban resources. Next is the Shelter Policy. Focuses on providing temporary or transitional housing for individuals displaced by emergencies, ensuring their safety and well-being. Next is the process of policy implementation. First is stakeholder consultation. Involves engaging with government agencies, developers, community organizations, and residents to inform policy making. Next is planning and development. Utilizes consultations and research to develop strategies for implementing policies, including resource allocation and setting targets. Then lastly, monitoring and evaluation. Employs a data-driven approach to assess the effectiveness of policies, allowing for necessary adjustments and improvements. It was formed on February 14, 2019, by virtue of Republic Act No. 11201. It was signed into law by President Rodrigo Duterte on February 14, 2019. The DHSUB was the result of the merger of the Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council and the Housing and Land Use Regulatory Board. The department is led by a secretary as appointed by the President of the Philippines. The secretary would be assisted by 3 undersecretaries, and 3 assistant secretaries would be appointed by the President upon the recommendation of the secretary. The current secretary is Jose Rizalino Acuzar, Undersecretary Gary De Guzman, and Undersecretary Avelino Tolentino, with Assistant Secretary Melissa Aradanes and other key persons.
Guided by dynamism, honesty, service excellence, unity of purpose, and dedication, the DSUD will move towards its vision of adequate and affordable housing, inclusive human settlements, and our well-planned communities for every Filipino family.